Okay guys, so they just announced FIFA 23. That's going to be FIFA 23 is going to include crossplay and it's going to change absolutely everything. For the good ways, maybe you can play with a friend on Xbox, you on PC, but next gen, old gen, more players on the game. Is there going to be more delay? We're going to go through all of that in today's video. Now, this has been leaked by Mr. Tom Henderson. He's been renowned to leak things and predict things correctly. He did things for Call of Duty that have actually come out into the game and other games as well. And we're going to go through this actual article that explains what's happening. Now, I'll link it down below in the description, but I'll give you the gist. Okay, so basically, the license agreement between the FIFA name EA ends about this year. Now, if EA lose the name and call it FIFA, in theory, nothing would happen. There's such monopoly in this. There's such high barriers to entry. Let's say, for example, someone like UFL, okay, let's say. Because they have such high barriers to entry, no other game can compete. Look at PES, the biggest competitor, and it's a shambles. If any of you played PES and you've seen reviews, it's an absolute shambles. It's a disgrace. So realistically, no one can really compete with EA. It's just how it is. It's a complete and utter monopoly. So whether they lose the name or not, does it matter? Okay, yeah, you're not going to say, let's play FIFA. You're going to say, let's play EA Sports FC. But we'll get onto that in a second. But it's going to be called FIFA 23 next year. So that's going to be the title name in September. So I think the license expires in December after the Qatar World Cup, around that area. So then that's when they will negotiate the terms. It says here there's been no indication from sources familiar with the project that FIFA 23 will free to play, despite the rumors circulating it could be the case. Now, from a business perspective, I am pretty sure some of the top analysts at EA have probably worked out, look, if we make the game for free, the amount of money we'll make is ridiculous. Problem is that obviously that adds more. It's not that simple. It adds players to the servers. Will it be a worse experience for those that are paying customers? I think what they should do, now this is business Neil talking, release it for free. This like the whole LATAM, Asia, the income in those regions, so obviously most of you guys are watching the UK, right? And most of you guys are adults, right? So it's a bit different. But most of these guys, they don't earn that much money. And for them, they can't play FIFA. Forget the next gen console. They can't even play FIFA because they can't buy the game. But making it free actually changes everything. Now, what I think they should do is, again, business Neil speaking, release a battle pass. Release it for free, but then when the game comes out, give out early access for a cheaper rate, right? It's a slightly cheaper rate. And then what you would do basically is you bundle it with FIFA points. Have a battle pass, have a monthly battle pass, stuff like untradeable packs, stuff like that. And you see players like us, the hardcore players, if it's like £10 a month, we'll buy it. And I think, you know what, in the long run, they'll make even more money. But the biggest change they said is they'll implement cross-play for the first time in a series history, bringing FIFA players across PlayStation, Xbox, and PC together for the first time. Now, this is where it gets a bit confusing, okay? First of all, on PC, you cannot play next generation version. For those who don't know, there's Stadia, which is different. But let's say you have the game on PC, so I have the game on Origin, and you can't play the next generation version. If you go into Origin and you try to load the game, you can only play old gen. So how is this going to work? Does this mean that you can play old gen and that will be cross-play, and maybe because you can't, because let's be honest, Xbox Series S, the amount it costs, Xbox Series S, it costs like £250. Such an amazing price, especially like if you think of it in terms of inflation, other previous consoles being released. It's a ridiculous price at Xbox Series S is being released for £250. Yes, you have no CD player, but the fact you can get a next gen console for £250 is an absolute steal. You can't do that with a PC. So the barriers for someone to play the game is going to be quite difficult. So what I would say is, if we can play cross-platform, let's say, I think PC and Xbox and PS, cross-platform will be fine, but it'll be old generation. Then I think for new gen, PS and Xbox, they'll be able to play. That's how I think it will be. And the reason why I say that is because the PS4 version still exists, number one. Number two, the PC doesn't have the PS4 version unless they make changes, unless they decide to make some amazing changes to that, which they can do very, very easily. It's not that hard. But for example, if this comes about, I'm changing to PC. I don't know if any of you guys have played on PC, but the game is so much more smoother. You can play at a higher frame rate. If you go on the PC, you see on menus on next gen how they're so smooth. On PC, it's a different level. It's so smooth, it's unbelievable. The gameplay is not necessarily better. It might appear better visually because you've got a higher frame rate, but the benefit is that you do have that aspect of the game being more fluid. So I'm changing to PC straight away if this comes out. But that's why I think realistically it'll be old gen. As long as they have a feature saying you don't want to allow crossplay. Because let's say, for example, I'm on PlayStation. I think I'm not going to say there's a porting issue per se, but could there be more delay, more lag on connecting to someone who's on the PC side? Probably. I mean, think about this carefully. You're in a game right now in FIFA. You're playing PS or you're playing Xbox. How much delay do you get? Can you imagine playing someone on another console? So unless they've made some miraculous change to that, I think that's going to be probably an issue. But it's a very interesting factor. You know, cross-platform obviously for FIFA got a bit delayed. The markets on FIFA is going to be different because before we had separate markets. You have the PC market for Ultimate Team. You have the PlayStation market, and then you have the Xbox market. Now, with all of it being bundled together, our players going to cost even more in general. So it's going to be interesting how that really translates over. In addition, FIFA 23 will contain both the men's and women's World Cups, with EA expanding its licensing partnership through all the major leagues to drive and build a single FIFA experience that brings males and females together. That is going to be interesting because the World Cup expires in December, so this could be the last time that they implement a World Cup-ish type game mode in FIFA if they don't extend the license. Now, I can imagine, like, I think they paid 200 million for the license. The issue with the license is it's not necessarily, look, to be honest, the license then is just a name that they're using. You know, they get some of the different licenses from the clubs individually and stuff like that, and some other agencies, but it's just a name. No one's going to say you're playing EA Sports FC. I mean, it kind of sounds crazy. I mean, they might just call it Football 23, to be honest. I think, you know, calling it Football 23 would just be like a good idea. But it's really just paying for that FIFA name. I think that's very important. But for them, it's like a parking ticket. But I think the reason they don't want to pay it is because, yes, it costs 200 million. They don't mind it. I don't think they really mind it. The problem is that EA and FIFA are going to have to make an agreement on FIFA points. Now, from a business perspective, if I'm thinking, if I'm the CEO of EA, right? I'm thinking, look, okay, you know what? If FIFA agreed to the deals, but let's say we change a few things here and there, we add some things to like be fine with red tape so the public don't get upset. We say, okay, you know what? You can play this game. If you want to buy FIFA points, we're going to have some messages saying you have to be over 18 and stuff like that. Maybe they will agree to it. I think that's what probably they will come to the conclusion where they'll agree in a system where FIFA and EA coexist together. The license will exist. Because who else is going to buy the license? Yeah, they put it to the market. Who else has got the money and the funding to buy the license for FIFA? Not many people. If you think about UFL, for example, and I'll be honest, it looks very forwarding. That game looks pretty good for the time it's been made. Do you think they're going to make enough money to compete? But if they make it free, that's what I think will change the market. And I think they will actually obliterate all competition. I mean, forget, it's a monopoly now. You saw how PES is when they tried to go free. The game is a shambles. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works. But anyway, the technology has now been enhanced tenfold and will now allow the development team to capture animation from real footballers in real matches using stadium cameras and eliminating the need for X-Sense suits. So this is going to be interesting as well, see how that really translates into the game. This change results in the team being able to capture over 100 times more data in a single league season they've ever captured in a franchise 29-year history. It was claimed during a recent staff meeting, which is actually kind of incredible. If you think about 100 times more data in one single season, in contrast to 29 years of history. So the animations and the way the game is, I mean, let's be honest, the graphics on FIFA, as it stands, no one can compete. But it says here finally, although this change will be significant to the series, the biggest question still looming is whether or not EA will abandon the FIFA brand. With the recent trademark filing suggests it could be the case, EA opting to call it EA Sports FC. EA did not give any comment before publishing the story. So, theoretically, it could be hearsay. But Mr. Tom Henderson, he's been known to leak some things very much correctly, and he's got a large following. It's not like a random person wrote this. But he is a source, and he has probably, there's a high chance he's correct. Now, I think the fact that you could play cross-console is fantastic. I think how much would delay impact that will be another thing. I think what would realistically happen is when a game comes out, they'll make maybe old gen crossplay and then new gen crossplay separate. So like maybe potentially a separate market for new gen and a separate market for old gen, potentially. But then how will that work? Maybe, I don't know. Actually, can't do that actually, because don't forget you can play new gen, old gen together. It's going to be very interesting to see how they do it. That's the thing that I'm interested in. That's the business side that I'm interested in. But yes, I think it's a really, really good feature. Crossplay, I think, we've been crying for it for years. And I think the fact that, and don't forget, it's not like a major difference between playing like PC and Xbox, to be honest. But I'm very much looking forward to it. So that's something we can all say. FIFA 23, it is coming out, and hopefully it is coming out still this October. I know FIFA 23, and it will have next gen. So if you're maybe considering buying the next generation console, maybe it's worth holding off. Maybe, you never know. If you've got that PC and you got that 38 tie, if you're very, very lucky to get it, then maybe you probably might be very much in the clear. But anyways, that is in regards to the news of that. I'll leave the link down below in the description. Some of you guys can read it. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thank you, of course. I'll catch you next time. Peace out, guys.